is that still, where is that in terms of priority list? Because it's small, it's great technology,
Yep.
but it's small, and yes, it kind of announces you on the stage in terms of Europe, but it's hardly the revenue spinner, and maybe it's a distraction. And how are you feeling about it?
I wouldn't say it's a distraction. I think it's a potential unlock. I think the recycling of magnets is overlooked. I think when you look at the production of magnets, and there's going to be more magnets made, when a magnet is made, not all of the material, the inputs, actually end up as a magnet. A lot of it ends up as waste. That material gets recycled. At the moment, 40% of the world's current magnet rare earth supply chain is recycling. So I think there's a big opportunity there. I think there's an opportunity for us to look at scaled up facilities across maybe the US and Europe, where we can start to make the oxides and work in partnership with metal makers and alloy makers to make the magnets to go into the motors to help show EV companies how we can build a supply chain together. So I think it's a way for us to start participating in the supply chain at smaller scale, working with partners in metal making and alloy making, where we can develop the IP and the transparency on the costs, which is what effectively the EV companies want to understand how they're going to build their supply chains.
Okay. And then at some point in the future, as you say, oh, by the way, we've also got this thing over
Well, this
here.
Makuutu is the long life.
Yeah, right.
But you've got to help to build that supply chain. And I think the recycling is a mechanism for us to unlock it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, tell me about how people do get a sense of what Makuutu could be, because you're going to need to build a few facilities for them to be able to process it as much as you need to at your end, to be able to then give bulk samples to various people to say, well, this is how we do it, maybe, or do you just pick one partner and say, right, it's there, it's massive, but you need to get your kind of capital together to kind of build out what you need, and we'll work with you on that one, and hopefully do it within a timeline which kind of matches up with ours. How's that conversation evolve?
There's several discussions underway at the moment,
right,
across all of that.
Bit early, right? It's early at the moment.
I think we're working towards a bit of a very common vision. Yeah. Right. So I think we do understand there are groups now that could help us to process our product when we start
with a balance
initially.
sheet that matches the potential of the size of the project that you've got, because they say it's huge. So they get the balance sheet?
They're big companies.
Big companies, okay. No clues? Poker face.
Well, it's too early to say, okay. But I'd love to be able to.
Okay, you're talking to the right people. You make it. So how long does that process drag on for? Because if I'm a shareholder, I'm looking at, I make my money when I sell your shares if they've gone up, right? I'm interested in what are the moments, the drivers this year in 2023. Everyone at the conferences are super pumped. Not surprised, because 2022 was brutal for everyone.
Yep.
Right, brutal. So from a low base, people are expecting some sort of reaction from the marketplace that, we're expecting a soft landing in the economy. Recession is not a word you hear so much, inflation coming down. So it was all the right narratives are out there, but you've got to take advantage of that. So this year, what are the things that you're going to do or be able to announce which will deliver on that kind of growth story again?
So I think the big one for us is going to be the mining licence.
For sure.
Mining licence at Makuutu. Mm-hmm. We are in discussions with our partners in Renzori about potentially increasing our ownership.
Okay. Why?
Because I think some of our strategic partners downstream in the US would like for us to mop up 100% of the asset.
Okay.
And I think that's going to be an important thing. Now, we're in discussions with our partners now. I think there's a common vision. Mm-hmm. There's alignment on where we want to go. So hopefully we're able to do something soon. I think the magnet recycling, the demo plant in Belfast this year, is going to be a catalyst for us to start making oxides, to be able to start putting that into.
Okay, so I shouldn't ignore that.
That's
got purpose.
Exactly. That's an unlock. I think there's a lot of opportunity there for us in helping to build out that supply chain. And I think as we move further downstream, we put a bit more colour around what that looks like. Hopefully we're in a position where we can talk publicly about our strategies for the US.
Well, I think for me that's the kind of key here is trying to understand the opportunity in the US or Europe, wherever, but it's contracts or JVs or strategic partnerships or access to capital to really kind of scale this thing up. Talking about a big project and delivering a big project, two different things, right? So that this year is, I suspect, what people want to see from you, and it's definitely what I'd like to see from you. But those things, I also appreciate those things take time. So where do you think you are in terms of that kind of step change moment?
Okay, so I think, we're going to put out economics on the project.
Right.
And we'll be able to talk about where we see the project and the funding.
But on the economics, right? We've already put out economics on the project. It's like, how different do you think that needs to be to get a noticeable change or get an inflection point in terms of people's perception of your value?
I think once we can identify and speak publicly about our strategies of going downstream, I think that everything changes then.
Okay.
I think that's because not all rare earth projects are created equal.
For sure.
Some of them have a greater strategic need in the basket of elements they produce.
And we're talking about the difference between lights and heavies?
Very much so.
Okay.
Lights are excessively, there's no shortage of light rare earth projects out there.
Yeah.
What there is not an abundance of is heavy rare earth projects. It's a very short list. I think recently we saw, one of our peer projects in Brazil received a $150 million investment from Vision Blue and EMG. So I think it's an indication of how important ionic adsorption clay deposits are. There are not many of these proven assets around.
But how do you, as a company, you as a CEO, say someone like Vision Blue, we're real, okay? There's a lot of chat in the market. I say, not everyone's going to be able to move things along. How do you say, trust us, we're real, we've got the heavies, high margin stuff here, and we've technically cracked the code here, and we have inserted ourselves into the ecosystem of companies that will get into production, will have some economic reality to it. What do they need to hear from you?
I think you've got to make the product. You've got to, we're going to build a demo plant here at Makuutu.
Yeah.
We're going to make...
Remind us of the timing?
We're planning on having that operating for the rest of this year, producing product so that we can start placing that with groups on our downstream.
Are you funded for that?
We've got money in the bank. We've got 20 million in the bank as of the end of...
Is that enough to get product in people's hands?
That'll do a lot of the heavy lifting on that demonstration plant.